The question to be answered today is, what is the beloving imaginer going to fall in love with this week for the 8th podcast? And the answer is ancient wordsong forms. I've turned myself into an archeologist of ancient rhythms, that is, rhythms for the construction of stanzas in verse. And I'm going to demonstrate them with samples from my book, Bliss in Triple Rhythm, a Toolbox for Poets. Now, bliss in triple rhythm, that's very interesting. I'm going to suggest today that rhythms with 3-syllable structure units are vastly neglected. They have been culpably ignored for the last few centuries in English verse in favor of rhythm structures with only 2 syllables. Now, 2 syllables are wonderful, and we've done very well with them. In fact, Shakespeare, who uses them all the time in his plays, is considered by some possibly the world's greatest poet. So he writes, the quality of mercy is not strained. It falleth like the gentle dew from heaven upon the earth beneath the la 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 la. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. You see, he has 5 beat lines, and every time he has a beat, he has la la, which is to say weak strong, and that's called an iamb. So put 5 of them together and you have an iambic pentameter. Now you can reverse an iamb. Instead of la la, hello, you can have Lala, Mary, hello, Mary. That's an iamb followed by a trochee. And he does that. Shakespeare will do that occasionally. He'll throw in a trochee in the middle of one of his iambic lines. And maybe the best known example is, to be or not to be, that is the question. Instead of to be or not to be, that is the question. He threw in a trochee, and it doesn't ever upset people in America. We're used to it. Anglo interpreters of iambic pentameter have been fairly liberal from that point of view. We hear the paradigm, and we don't mind an occasional trochee in the midst of our iambs. But notice that the trochee is 2 syllables, just as the iamb was 2 syllables. And what happened to the 3-syllable rhythmic foot? They are just as viable and just as practical, and 2,000 years ago everybody was using them. I have a little paragraph I wrote to sum up what I think happened. I can't explain why, but I can at least describe what. Sadly, as the titanic gods and spirits of classical myth, Greco-Roman mythology, were shrunk into little fairies and elves, or kobolds and gnomes, so the arousing 3-syllable feet, so feet means structure units, so popular and standard for the Greeks and Romans, are mainly available today only in nursery rhymes and lyrics for children. It's easy to show examples. One of them is the anapest. It goes la la la, weak, weak, strong. La 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 la. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house. That's popular, but it was written 100 years ago. To write those things has gone out of style, and what's more, even back then, it was a poem for children. And now the dactyl, if you reverse that instead of, let's see, it's not exactly a reversal. It's 3 syllables, however. La 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 la. Okay, 1 strong, weak, weak, strong, weak, weak. The dactyl, which consists of 1 strong syllable followed by 2 weak ones, appears in a poem from Robert Louis Stevenson's A Child's Garden of Verses. I was given this book, beautifully illustrated. I can still see the pictures before my mind's eye at this moment. How do you like to go up in a swing, up in the air so blue? Oh, I do think it's the pleasantest thing ever a child can do. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4, 1 and a 2 and a 3, and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4, 1 and a 2. See, it's dactyls, and it's fun. And the amphibrach, the last one I'll show you, used, let's see, that has a strong syllable flanked by 2 weak ones. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, la la la, la la la, la la la. And here we can go to Dr. Seuss, the Cat in the Hat. I sat there with Sally, we sat there, we two. Yes. So even if you are not reading the Greeks and Romans, you know what I'm talking about regarding the charm of three-syllable metric or rhythmic units, simply from Dr. Seuss. He's a great teacher. Okay, let me show you what happens if you write, as I love to do, lyrics consisting of nothing but three-syllable structure units. Here's one called Hail Holy Light, though that's the beginning of the soliloquy on light from opening of Book 3 of Milton's Paradise Lost. This is going to be a poem in amphibrachts. That is to say, and one and a two and a three and a four, and then one and a two and a three and a four, and one and a two and a three and a four, and one and a two and a three and a four. Milton is thinking about light because he's blind. He thinks a lot about light because it's something he doesn't seem to have, and yet he sees what other people can't see. He has a different kind of light. So he wonders what the light was when God said, "Let there be light." Has it occurred to you that the sun and the stars hadn't been created yet? So, the light, what exactly was it? He talks about that for a while, and my feeling is that he concludes with the idea that the question, simply to be aware that there is such a question, might be more important than reaching a definitive answer as to what exactly that light consisted in, where it came from, and what its metaphysical status was. Anyway, we're going to start by light because I'm thinking about how I want to spend the day. And I've decided that the best way to do it is to copy the sun god, who's a charioteer. He drives the sun around and he measures out the day. He enjoys his work. He enjoys every minute of it. The vigor of the task and the responsibility, the leadership and the joyfulness of the glory that the sun brings. So that's the point of my poem. Is time in control, or am I? There's a question. Let deity picturing lend a suggestion. See light of the morning Apollo appear? He's mastered the craft of the charioteer. You're also a reigner, a trainer, a rider, of sun-flaring steeds, the director, provider. The bliss of the bridegroom you know, and the force you feel in the spirit is leading each horse. How quick is a minute of living? Determine. By verve are you spurred in the word of your sermon. Your anthem is graphing your transit in time. Deep breathing in vigor with canorous rhyme. Canorous means singing, melodious. Don't model your travel on Saturn, old Cronus. Divest yourself well of dead memory onus. In other words, don't copy for your model the so-called Father Time figure that you keep seeing, like some kind of crippled old guy who can barely move along. That is not time. Time is more like the god Apollo. He measures out the hours of the day by leading the sun across the sky in his chariot. Don't model your travel on Saturn, old Cronus. Divest yourself well of dead memory onus. Hail future in aureate Helio spree, and carry to Phoebus a greeting from me. The sun god is much loved. You notice he's called Apollo and Phoebus, and what else was it? Helios also. I think they're all in the poem. All right. So we've had an introduction to the amphibrach, and that was nothing but amphibrachs, la 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 la. At the very end, as some of the lines had just la la with a missing syllable at the end. Missing syllable is called a catalexis, and they are routinely used here and there for variety. Now we'll proceed to the anapest, and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3. La la la, that's an anapest. This is not difficult, is it? As the saying goes, it is not rocket science. A 4-year-old could understand it. That's why the 4-year-olds like Dr. Seuss. He understood it. He was right there with the Greeks and Romans, as we'll see in a moment. I call this midnight hymn, because even though I'm writing it at midnight, I'm thinking about the sun already. Though I haven't a theme, I am gladdened to start. Why did smiling arise in the heart? There's a laughter inside me that wants to proclaim, praise the being that no one can name. It has given my body an alchemy rare, that the element solar, most fair, which the morning awakes may transform what I write into semblance of heaven's own light. What is gold? The aurora. that means the dawn. The aura, the ore, that with gules of the dawning our lore, of the heroes of legend adorning is found, red and yellow on azurine ground. I'm thinking of the technical names for the colors on coats of arms. In my spirit, the primary colors are prime. Oh, inspirers of rhythm and rhyme, I will lift up my hands for the lauding of you. Sing at midnight, remand, hallelujah. I hope I'm making a case for triple rhythm. I think we're missing a whole lot by not using them. And then I will have one more from this book of triple rhythm before we get into the classical Greek and Roman examples very shortly. I'll give you a little preview right now. The secret of the Greeks and Romans is to combine the twos and the threes in very intricate patterns that it takes an inspired person to cook up. Anyway, here is our third three-syllable foot. It's a dactyl. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 5. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 5. 1 and a 2 and a. That's it. That's a dactyl. And I call this one, very appropriately, a sunflower. I'm still on my theme of the sun. And here I tell you an episode that actually happened to me in Wegmans supermarket in Vestal in upstate New York. This happened, and I had to write it down as soon as I got home. Half of the sunflowers, hiding her face while she bent, getting the proper container, gold petal wealth lent, crowded surrounding each blossoming pupil of eye, made me respond with, unplanned and exultant, a cry. Oh, they're so beautiful, aren't they? Face lifted, she turned slightly toward me and smiled in a manner that earned thanks from the flowers and me and the world, with her eyes smiling so bright as without her I'd never surmise. Born to be lovers, we're known, I'm beginning to think, deep in the hearts that are fountains where beauty will drink. These are the maidens who light up the soul with their glow. God they create by their presence wherever they go. Have to rest after that, take a deep breath. That amounts to a kind of religious experience, doesn't it? And based upon nothing but, and this is a very great thing, the sight of a beautiful woman amidst the flowers. Now, before I turn to the Greeks and the way they combined the threes and the fours, I'll have to admit that there is one grouping of threes that I didn't include here because it is so rare. I don't think it's terribly common even among the ancients, though I have seen it there, and I have seen it in a German poem where Stefan George, the German poet, wrote, and la la la, la la la, la la la. That was the way he had three of these la la la's every line. That's called an amphimeter. That is strong, weak, strong, strong, weak, strong, strong, weak, strong. It's hard for me to do that in English, but I decided I would do it. And in one of my poems, in a different book called 100 Artisanal Tonal Poems, I wrote poems in a very peculiar meter, which you'll hear today and may never hear again, the amphimacrian monometer. That is to say, one amphimeter per line. In other words, da-da-dum, and then we stop. What's going to happen if you do that? I'll show you. Look, you see how thin the lines are? They are perhaps the world's thinnest. And that's what I wanted because my sequence is called Diet Sonnets. They observe the rules of the sonnet. I'm not lying when I say I'm writing sonnets, but they've got to be the thinnest possible. I wrote this about 10 years ago, when people were a little more concerned with being super thin than they are today. So it may have a bit of a retro feel about it. Feel obese? Thinner verse can disperse calories. Ready? Right? Something new. Good for you. Sonnet light. L-I-T-E, that is. Lacking vim, exercise, thinner thighs, sonnet slim. Slender eyes, sonnet wise. Part 2, that has 3 parts. Fat must go, shed those pounds, slimmer sounds, help, you know. Something wrong, deltoid, ab, fight the flab. Sonnet strong, surfer scene, suit too small, simply call sonnet lean. Slim is your sonnet cure. Part 3. Fat, don't fret. Waist too thick? Simply click son.net. You will thank thinner lines, healthy signs. Sonnet lank. Think of it. Soon you'll be thoroughly sonnet fit. Thin is cool. Sonnets rule. Okay, enough of that. That's perhaps the goofiest thing we have on our program. Now, what have I got? Now we have a classical poem in a genre called the third Asclepiadic. Listen to how the twos and the threes are combined in a lovely melody. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4. 1 and 2. Let's see, is that right? 1 and 2 and a 3, 4 and a 5 and 6. 1 and 2 and a 3, 4 and a 5 and 6. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4. You know, I started this, I was demonstrating it. I was telling a fellow party guest about this at a party the other day, and I said, you know what I'm doing? I'm writing in ancient meters like this: 1 and 2 and a 3, 4 and a 5 and 6. 1 and 2 and a 3, 4 and a 5 and 6. And she said, you know, that sounds like a dance. So it is a dance, and I have composed a dance-like melody to go with it. 1 and 2 and a 3, 4 and a 5 and 6. 1 and 2 and a 3, 4 and a 5 and 6. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4. What, my lines aren't profound? Well, they're at least profund. Made for play are they all? I'm but a white-haired clown. Leaven, making the yeast grow, turns to levity, growl and frown. Daily sodden the ground, sod are we too indeed, yet we've air in our lungs, grand when we sing a tune. Must lugubrity ruin, bliss of harlequin pantaloon. These are the Italian commedia dell'arte figures in the Renaissance. Swing we bravely between doom and the deepest height, laughing, crying at once, quick the distinction dies. Thou comedian weepest, I'm a lover that's smiling sighs. Boy, did I have fun with that. What comes next? This is the fourth Asclepiadic. This is just as melodious, if not more so, and just as danceable. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and a 3, 4 and a 5 and 6. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and a 3, 4 and a 5 and 6. Here's my song for that. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and a 3, 4 and a 5 and 6. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and a 5 and 6. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and a 3, 4 and a 5 and 6. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and a 5 and 6. Finish packing and then relax. Though to reason inclined, yet I resist that plan. Something wants me to read and write, spending time as I wish. Duty obliged to wait. Deadline pressures I always like, they themselves lend a rush, rapid and happy both, freedom whim with a spice of risk, will, however, delay grandly the task required. Rebel gesture, an emblem fit, speaking loudly, I'm bound, yet I'm a creature free. All my days have I lived this way, starting when as a boy, time I would let slip by, never touching the violin, then sweet idleness done, knowing the lesson day soon would come, I would labor hard, practice long and intense, urged by the daemon's will. The daimon is a guardian spirit. We get our word demon from that. It's interesting, isn't it? What I'm saying is I really work best under high pressure, and you could say the fear of the Lord for me is the beginning of work time. That's the fourth Asclepiadic. Asclepius was the god of healing. It could be that these poems are thought to have a curative function. Now, the next rhythm is so very unusual that I haven't yet thought up a tune for it. But what it does is, I think it takes the dance and it adds drums to it. I'll listen to the rhythm. 1 and 2 and a 3, 4 and a 5, 6 and a 7 and 8. 1 and 2 and a 3, 4 and a 5, 6 and a 7 and 8. That's what you do you have to do that in every line. That's a very strange thing to do at any time. But I tried it, and you won't be surprised to hear it worked. Although you're going to be the decider, the judge. I just know I thoroughly enjoyed it. Breathing in, we can feel mouth, tongue, and throat cooled by the evening air, also cooling the sweet sips of the mild coffee that wakes the brain. Warm and colder, the mix mirrors the change made in the twilight hour. Every night in July, 20 degrees lower than day will fall. Quiet comes to my aid, letting the taste move to the foreground mind. I in silence can bathe, purity gain, essence refreshed and clean. Friend computer, a print, adds to the mood. Shown is a brindled cat, resting calm on her side, savoring peace, liking a summer nap. Reader, long have I loved writing for you, showing my ways to form word song featuring you, patterns of shape, triplets in vocal dance. Tell me, how have you liked hearing the Greeks, Romans revived in tone? Write me, tell me your thought. Should you approve, we a renaissance may yet create when the soul, joying in him, raising the voice in prayer, chants to that which is hid, laughing in tears. You are my only home. I hope you were as surprised by that as I was. It still gives me a bit of a chill. I did not expect that kind of a mood to come upon me at the end. I have another one of these very interesting things for which I haven't yet figured out how to do a tune, but this is called the hendecasyllabic, which just means 11 syllables. And 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and 5 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, yeah. 1 la 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 la. 2s and 3s always. This kind only has 1 3 per line, but that gives it the character and personality. It's called Young Who Bothers to Read Obituaries. You know, it's interesting. For decades, I never would look at an obituary, and then suddenly I began, or it wasn't sudden, it was really rather gradual. I began to look at them more, and now I find it quite interesting to do that. I read them more frequently now than ever before. Having something to do, wouldn't you guess, with getting a little older? Young Who Bothers to Read Obituaries. Random fates of the folk of other nations than the country the reader's blessed to dwell in. I belong to the land of the living. Why do I care about this statistics about dead people? That used to be my inherent psychology, whether I voiced it or not. As reports of the Wall Street market figures, or the winning and losing of a sport team, stories told of the dead could not engage me. Later, after I gained a few more decades, vital mortal statistics fueled interest. Where am I in the stages of becoming? We a story in frame where start and finish can't be known. 'Tis an episode of weather, told in form of the tide, a lasting pastime. Isn't that interesting? You know, we're writing stories of our lives simply by living, and they have a tidal feeling to them, day and night, and up and down, and ebb and flow. But we don't know the beginning of the story. We can't remember it, and we can't foresee the end of it either. So we're in the challenging situation of writing a story with very vague beginning and ending, and as far as the middle, shaped without reference to either of those uncertainties. We have a bit of a challenge, have we not? Now the eyes to a different level wander. In obits from the warm emotion people feel, I siblings acquire, an aunt, a cousin. Briefly thus I awakened am to travel through a sample of patterns of our breathing, love and grief and the cycle that conjoins them. Okay, and now I'm back to my singing days. This is called the alcaic, and it is a most remarkable thing. And 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4 and 5, and 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4 and 5, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and 4 and. Nothing so dramatic was ever invented by an ancient Greek or Roman poet, and they wrote hundreds of these. They wrote them for hundreds of years. Why was this? Why is it now virtually extinct? Why do I have to look in the mirror to find a guy that writes it? Let's listen to how it might sound in a song. La 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 Oh, what's this about? This is about a very interesting thing. It's a short poem. It tells of what my friend told me. Yeah, my German friend, he was born in Pakistan. He's had interesting life adventures. He was asked to lecture to a group of people who had forgotten how to laugh. Or if they ever knew it, they couldn't think how you do it. And yet they felt that something was missing in their lives as human beings. They could see all around them that laughing was regarded as a more or less normal thing for people. And why couldn't they do it? So they took a lecture course and with demonstrations and activities to try to recover the skill of laughing. My friend was paid a fee to contribute help to people who'd enrolled in a lecture course where those who'd long forgotten laughter practiced reviving the skill. It's healthy. The pupils faced each other among the trees and gave each thought a laughter-promoting theme, encouraged in a woodland setting, thus to anticipate joys long hidden. The oddest thing my friend would discover soon appeared when people, trying their best to laugh, brought forth instead an ardent weeping. Molten emotions had won their freedom. That's something, huh? All of a sudden they cry out loud, floods of tears. I call that liberation. The last of the ancient Greek forms, and then I'll show you something rather special and unexpected for a conclusion. The last of my classical forms is the Sapphic, named in honor of Sappho, the greatest and certainly the most ancient woman poet that we know of. Sapphic. 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4 and 5 and 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4 and 5 and 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4 and 5 and 1 and a 2 and. It lends itself to tranquility, doesn't it? Or casual conversation. It's very relaxed, and yet it's not boring. That lovely short ending gives it diversity. Here's the kind of tune I wrote for it. 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4 and 5 and 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4 and 5 and 1 and 2, 3 and a 4 and 5 and 1 and a 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4 and 5 and 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4 and 5 and 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4 and 5 and 1 and a 2 and June concludes my mood is attuned, letitional, that means joyful. Summer 1 week old, it is here, official. Days in June are rare, meaning rich and treasured, specially pleasured. Ere it part, we've leisure to pose a question. Why is it thought Junonian? One suggestion, she had been of weddings the long-time patron, better the matron. So June is named after Juno, partly because she sponsors weddings. She'd at times been cruel, her fight with Venus shows in old Aeneid a spleen and meanness. Yet for ire she'd plenty of provocation. Jove a fixation had pursuing maidens he found attractive. He imaginative by overactive sportive life had driven his wife to madness. So with the gladness weddings will occasion to poet dreaming, gentle tear will also appear beseeming, that means fitting, appropriate. Just think I do, and soon is the I do gleaming. Guests though are beaming. And now I said I'd give you something a little unusual. It's my attempt to be an ancient Greek or Roman. I'm going to combine 2s and 3s in a poem written in a stanza form of my own devising, and I'm hoping you like it. Let's see, I've picked 2 amphibrachs and 2 iambs in each line, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. It's called Getting a Haircut. My oldest is 7, Aurora. Dawn? How perfect, the sunrise, the waking day. Is that what you had in your mind? Can't say. I once looked it up, but the time's long gone. And Scarlet, my second, is 3. Oh my, another bright red in the morning sky. From Gone with the Wind? Had you that in mind? Well, no, but I hear it a lot, I find. A love for what shines, for the color red. What beautiful names. Are they like your own? I'm Jessica. Nice, but the color tone, not quite so predominant, I'd have said. No, Jessica's boring. I thought, no more of that. We'll have names that will not bore. I glanced in the mirror, my hair now done. The colors undyed would survive the test of boredom avoided. What sudden fun. Hair black on the left, with the center white, then black, how symmetrical, at the right. You'd think of a bird with a rising crest. Thank you for listening to these.